Hello, everyone, and welcome to Big Sam's Long Balls podcast. Give us a like, give us a subscription to cheer me up because Liverpool, once again, awful, lazy, pathetic, whatever it is that you want to describe them as. They dropped more points again today. They lost away at Arsenal, to be fair to Arsenal and to bloody Chris, who thankfully isn't on this podcast at this moment in time. Arsenal were brilliant, deserved it, thoroughly deserved the victory. Was it 30 seconds or something like that it took for them to score against us today? Just laughable. So similar to what we saw a week ago at home to Brighton. We all, well, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us thought it was going to be a new dawn, 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1, 4-2-4, whatever it was, that worked so well against Rangers. Well, we had to be warned. Rangers are, not to offend Rangers fans, but they are not a top level side. And we saw it today. We went there with a two-man midfield. We all knew it was going to be a risk. I thought both Thiago and Henderson were bang average. Henderson in particular, I'm kind of done. I'm done watching this guy play. In our midfield. He's finished. He's finished for me, Jordan Henderson. He is not a top level footballer, and we actually finished the game quite laughably as we took off Mo Salah. We chucked on Jordan Henderson at right wing, chucked on Harvey Elliott at left wing, and had a 4-4-2 with those two as our wide players. It was insane from Jurgen Klopp and Pep Lingers once again, proving the point that in-game management is non-existent at this football club. But let's try and go through the game as a whole. Like I said, 30 seconds is all it took for Arsenal to get in front. Some questionable decisions today. I certainly feel that the ref was, well, appalling, to say the very least. The penalty was, okay. You've seen them given. For me, it's definitely not a penalty. I don't understand how the handball wasn't a penalty for Liverpool. Um, Arteta in particular on the sideline. We love passionate managers. I certainly do. It's in Jurgen Klopp, but I just think Arteta takes it up another level. He's literally on the edge of the pitch half of the time. There was a moment in that first half where Diaz was running down the left wing, had the upper hand on Ben White, and Arteta is actually in front of him, screaming at him, almost throwing a leg out, looking like he's going to tackle him. It's just I don't understand how he gets away with it game after game. But look, we're not going to make excuses on this channel. Arsenal thoroughly deserve the win, and their title push carries on. They look like a team that can really challenge Manchester City this season, although personally I find it a little bit doubtful that anyone can stop Manchester City. But as a Liverpool fan, we're going to talk about Liverpool in this video. Very, very few positives today. Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez were probably one of the only ones. Unfortunately, Diaz had to come off fairly early. I think at the end of the first half, it looks like he's got a massive injury now for Liverpool. He's just left the Emirates on crutches. Obviously, we don't know what's happened, but there's feelings or rumours going around that maybe he could be out for the next couple of months, which is disastrous, absolutely disastrous for us. We've had an awful start to the season. I think the worst start to the season in over 10 years. It really does feel like we're watching a Roy Hodgson Liverpool team right now, just awful all over the place, defensively, in midfield, just awful. And one shining light so far this season has been Luis Diaz, but it looks like he's going to be out long term. Trent Alexander-Arnold, another one, picked up a really, really nasty injury off of Martinelli today. Obviously accidental. I know a few Liverpool fans wanted a red card for that. It was never a red card, but it was still a very, very nasty challenge, or just a nasty sort of follow through from Martinelli, sort of completely accidental. He did try to carry on. Obviously came off at half time. Now I don't know whether that was just purely injury or whether it's tactical, because he was just sat on the bench, and you would imagine if someone has picked up an injury, they would be sort of in the locker room or whatever receiving treatment. But he's come off with a twisted ankle, so hopefully Trent won't be out for too long, but he could be out for potentially a couple of weeks with that. But obviously the big talking point right now is Luis Diaz, our best player so far this season, out for a couple of months, and it's just a real shame because it just adds to the growing problems at this football club. And there are so many problems at Liverpool at this moment in time. You don't even know where to start because it's not as simple as saying sack the manager. There will be a lot of talk of that. From rival fans mostly, obviously saying is Jurgen Klopp's time up. I wouldn't be surprised in some ways, because when it gets to a point like this and there's so many issues, you could replace the whole team. I think you need to replace the ownership personally, but none of that's ever going to happen. So the easiest thing to do is replace the manager. And while maybe that would work to a degree, you might get a new manager bounce or something like that, but it will only get worse because any manager working under FSG is going to struggle so much. If you look at the Boston Red Sox over in America, the baseball team that FSG also own. Now, I don't expect any owner in the world to have an emotional attachment to Liverpool Football Club or to any football club. If they do, it's an added bonus, but I don't think it's a necessity, or it doesn't have to happen. But John Henry has an emotional attachment to the Boston Red Sox. It's where he's from. It's what he grew up watching. He absolutely idolized them growing up, and he loved the Boston Red Sox. That's from his own mouth. Now, under John Henry's ownership, they've come up from being, the equivalent of being a mid-table average baseball team. They got to the pinnacle, very similar to what Liverpool did 3-4 years ago. And ever since then, they've just plateaued and they've just dropped further and further and further down because John Henry has not put any money into the Boston Red Sox. Now, if you're sitting there as a Liverpool fan and thinking that sounds very, very familiar, well, you're absolutely right, because it's just John Henry's business strategy. He does not invest money into his projects. He does not invest money into the Boston Red Sox, a team that he has an emotional attachment to. So what on earth makes us think that he is going to put any money into a club that he couldn't really give two craps about? And in all honesty, I highly doubt that he even knew that we were playing today. And Arsenal fans and Manchester United fans have complained about their ownership for a number of years, and understandably so. But good God, I would swap any of their owners for ours, because I think ours are up there with some of the worst ownerships in the entire sport. And right now we are sitting 4 points above relegation. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say Liverpool are going to get relegated, but even if we were in the Championship, I don't think we would be able to compete financially. That is how poor FSG are. That is how tight-fisted John Henry is. He is the real life Ebenezer Scrooge. That is what this man is. He will not put money into this football club. Equally, he will not sell. There have been other ownerships that were willing to invest a couple of billion into this football team about 12 to 18 months ago, and he said no. So not only will he not invest and improve this team and help Jurgen Klopp or any other manager, he will not be willing to sell. So this is a really, really dark time for this football club. I don't know how we're going to get this man out. It also feels like half the fan base doesn't want to get him out, So I look to you, the ultimate Liverpool fans, the top Reds. Is this what you want to see? An ownership that refuses to spend money, an aging midfield of players like James Milner and Jordan Henderson, who are so average it is beyond belief, up against the second youngest team in the Premier League, who wiped the floor of us today. And we can talk about decisions from the referee, and obviously I think it did cost us, because you can play poorly and escape with a victory or escape with a draw. We could have come out with that game 3-3 or 2-2 potentially. Would we have deserved it? No, but you don't necessarily deserve those results in football, and that comes purely down to the officiating, in my opinion, which was disgraceful. But tactically, we were ridiculous. It's become a bit of a meme among Liverpool fans that we can't even go 5 minutes into a game without conceding. Literally 30 seconds today, or whatever it was. Martinelli puts it in the back of the net. It's laughable. And you're hearing interviews with Virgil van Dijk talking about how we're doing everything not to concede. I mean, this is everything to not concede. Get in the bin. Absolutely get in the bin. I'm watching Van Dijk play his arse off for Holland in international football. I'm watching him strolling around the pitch today. Could not care less. I've just watched an interview with him. He was so... There's just nothing from him. There's nothing from any of these Liverpool players. Jamie Redknapp said nobody's taking responsibility for Liverpool. He's absolutely spot on. It's just so poor beyond belief. Jordan Henderson today, A, his performance, but B, as a captain, arguing away with Granit Xhaka, you're getting into fights, having to be led away by Darwin Núñez. That did put a smile on my face. I must admit, absolutely laughable. We've seen how Darwin Núñez absolutely loves a scrap, and he's headbutting people left, right, and centre. He's the one calming our oh so great leader, Jordan Henderson, down. As captain, you got to keep your head, you got to keep your cool. He's rubbish for me, absolutely rubbish. One of the worst players I've ever had the displeasure of watching for a number of years. Maybe that sounds harsh on Jordan Henderson, but the reason why he's won the trophies that he's had is because he's had better players around him. And today, laughable. Whether he was in a two-man midfield, whether into a midfield three, and when he went out to that right-hand side, he was shocking. But there's no doubt that he'll start against Rangers. He'll probably play the full 90 minutes, and then he'll certainly play against Manchester City as they put in 6 or 7 goals up against us next week at Anfield. I'm thoroughly dreading that game with every fibre of my being. Should we try and do some match ratings? Alisson, if we go with 5 is average, 10 is outstanding, and obviously 1 is awful. Alisson probably a 6. I don't think he could have done anything else. Trent a 4. Matip a 3. Well, actually, maybe a 4 for Matip. He was bullied. He was outrunning every single department. 4.5 for Van Dijk because I think maybe he was slightly better than those two. A 5.5 for Kostas Tsimikas. Struggled against Saka a lot in this game, but to be fair to him, I thought I thought he did okay as the game wore on, despite actually Saka scoring 2 goals. Thiago 5, Jordan Henderson at 2. Mo Salah 3. I don't know what's happened to Mo Salah at this moment in time. He's been awful for nearly a year now, ever since he's come back from the African Cup of Nations. He was subbed off, 10, 15 minutes to go, something like that, maybe a little bit more. 3-2 down, we need a goal. And we're taking off Mo Salah and we're putting Jordan Henderson to right wing. We also take off Diogo Jota and bring on Harvey Elliott. That was the icing on the cake for me today. I nearly collapsed to the floor with laughter watching that substitution take hold. A few positives today would be Darwin Núñez up top, gets his goal. The celebration's unfortunate because that's just going to be used as a meme now. But yeah, probably one of the very few positives. But back to the match ratings, Mo Salah a 3. Luis Diaz, I thought was probably a 6 or a 7. Him and Núñez were really linking up really well in that first half, causing Arsenal so many problems. That sort of ball over the top, Gabriel was having an absolute nightmare. And if only Darwin Núñez could have, understood the offside rule a bit more. I mean, I know he's got a language problem, but surely does understand the offside rule. Maybe if he could have done that a bit more, we might have even gone into the lead. Who knows? But those two linked up really, really well. So it just adds to more of the misery that one of our best players is now going to be out long term. But yeah, Luis Diaz, 6, 7, 6.5. I'll give him. Diogo Jota, I'll give him a 6. Thought he pressed okay, counter pressed decently at times. Actually, I'm going to give him a 5.5. Maybe it was tiredness. I don't know what, but as the game wore on, he became more and more invisible. Maybe that's why Jurgen Klopp subbed him off, but surely Harvey Elliott was not the correct player to bring on in that situation. Maybe a Carvalho could have done more, since he's a bit more of a goal threat. But yeah, Diogo Jota, maybe a 5.5, 6, because yeah, he pressed okay at times, but his link-up play was poor. It was really, really rubbish, which we know it can be. There was a moment, I think, in the second half where he managed to counter Arsenal. I think maybe it was 4-on-3 or 4v4. Darwin Núñez makes a brilliant run going forward, a defence splitting run as he always does. Just play him in. Instead, he has to try and play a crossfield pass to Salah, which goes in behind him. It was just absolutely rubbish. So yeah, 5.5 for Darwin Núñez. And I'm going to give 5.5 for Diogo Jota. Struggling to remember these players' names. And I'm going to give Núñez a 7. It might be my player of the match. I can't remember what I gave the other guys, but I thought he was good today. He pressed really well. I thought he caused both Saliba and Gabriel. Gabriel in particular gave him more problems, but I thought he gave the Arsenal backline problems. He ran into those channels. He was an absolute menace, what I said with Chris prior to the game. No defender in the world wants to defend against pace and power. It was a really nicely taken goal. I just feel for him because this team's a mess. And obviously the memes will be out about Darwin Núñez and all of this, how much he cost. I think he's been one of our better players this season. I really, really do. He looks like a goal threat. He looks like a good player. It's just so unfortunate, again, that Diaz is now out injured long term, because those two were forming a really, really nice partnership. So I think that's my 1 to 11 of ratings. In terms of substitutions, Roberto Firmino came on and gets a really nicely taken goal. I'll give him a 6.5. A 6.5. Yeah, maybe a little bit lower than a Darwin Núñez. He played well. Again, he couldn't really get into the game. I thought the players around him were so substandard. I just felt so sorry for both him and Núñez up top. They fed off very, very little, especially in that second half. I think maybe the Firmino goal was our only shot at the Arsenal goal in that whole of the second half, and that would probably tell a story, or tell the whole story of the game, in all honesty. So yeah, 6.5 for Bobby Firmino. Who else came on? Fabinho. Wow. Awful for me. 3.5. And maybe some people think that's harsh. I thought he was shocking, absolutely shocking. Now, Arsenal came on to us in the second half, and they absolutely deserved that third goal. It wasn't a penalty in my opinion, but the goal was certainly coming. And Konate came on, and I thought he was one of our better substitutions, so I'll give Konate a 6. Thought he defended pretty well, actually. He looked strong, he looked physical. It's his first competitive minutes this season, obviously coming back from injury. So when I saw him coming on, I was a bit worried, coming up against the best sort of team in the country at the moment. But I thought he did okay. And the ball's like bouncing around. Konate is doing really, really well. But Van Dijk, I don't know what's happened with him. He can't seem to clear a ball, but the ball falls to Fabinho fortuitously. You know, you just put your laces through it. The embarrassing thing about that, he wasn't even watching. He was looking at the floor. He, literally, the ball was behind him, and you could see the other players screaming at him. It's just Sunday league stuff, or what you would expect to see in an under 12s game. And suddenly he realizes, go, oh, okay, and he just scuffs a clearance out. Arsenal bring it back. Ball comes whipping into the box. Penalties given. So for that moment, I would give Fabinho a 1 because he looks like he doesn't want to be here. He looks like it's almost self-sabotage. He doesn't care that, you know, and I'm sure that's not the case. And I hate saying that about any player, especially, you know, a player of a team that I support, but he just looks like he just doesn't care. I don't know, you tell me. But yeah, I'll give Fabinho a 3. I think he's lucky to get that, if I'm honest. Who else came on? Yeah, Kanate, I give him a 6. Thought he looked good. Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott. What does he do? Runs around the pitch, gets bullied off it, gets bullied off the ball, doesn't really offer anything, in my opinion. I feel for him, you know, he's only 18, 19. He shouldn't be thrown into these situations. He doesn't play in a midfield 3 for me. Is he good enough to be a wide man? Should he be a number 10? I don't know what he does. I really don't know what Harvey Elliott does. Someone let me know in the comments down below. Am I being too harsh on Harvey? Maybe. But let me know what you would do with Harvey Elliott, because I just don't get it. I don't get what he does. So I'll give him a 3 as well. He comes on, we need a goal, and we take off Jota, and he's just offers nothing. But yeah, that's my player ratings for everyone. I think that's everyone. I just want to stop talking about this game. It's awful. So to sum up, Arsenal are brilliant, thoroughly deserved the victory. They will battle for the title this season. They will go toe-to-toe Manchester City, and hopefully as a neutral, they can get pretty far. But I can't see it. Personally, I can't see anyone really stopping this Manchester City machine that we're witnessing right now. But all credit to Mikel Arteta. Tactically, his team set up perfectly. I just don't like his antics on the side of the pitch. You know, the booking for Joe Gomez, there we go. 4. Because actually taking off Trent and bringing on Joe Gomez, it was just like for like. And he's a defender, unlike Trent. So Joe Gomez was awful. I think he's a bang average player, Joe Gomez, for me. Maybe some people will argue that in the comment section down below. Centre back or right back, I think he's rubbish, Joe Gomez. But yeah, Arteta's antics. You know, Joe Gomez gets booked for time wasting when we're a goal down. To take a throw in. Now, okay, if you're going to book him, that's absolutely fine. But the ref wasn't going to do anything until Arteta literally screamed at Gomez in the back and said, "Can you book this guy?" And then the referee went, "Oh, of course, sir. Yeah, anything else you want?" Michael Oliver, get in the bin. Absolutely awful referee today. But yeah, credit to Arteta. Tactically, gets his teams, you know, set up perfectly. He's a very, very good young manager. He just needs to calm down a bit for me. Because he's at, you know, I don't usually mind when a manager's running up and down the touchline. You know, my manager's Jurgen Klopp, for God's sake. So of course I like that, but I think he takes it a step too far, and I think someone needs to have a word with him, and refs need to be a little bit stronger, because I think he is influencing games too much. Being that close to the pitch, it shouldn't be allowed. You know, there are players literally running past him, and he is screaming in their face. That should not be allowed. But anyway, that has no impact really on the result. Liverpool sit 4 points from the relegation zone. We're in a bad place. We've got more and more injuries. You know, Arthur Mele is now out for the next 4 years by the looks of it. I've got Manchester City up next, and I'm going to cry. So hopefully we can get through this. I really don't know how, though. When it gets this bad, the only ever results in one thing, and that is the manager usually leaving. Now, I can't see a world in which Jurgen Klopp leaves or is sacked from Liverpool. However, are the ownership going to spend the money? Are these players going to step up? None of it looks very, very likely at this moment in time. A big change is needed at Liverpool. I don't know what. But anyway, guys, comment down below. Even Arsenal fans, bring it on. Let me know your thoughts. Obviously, we didn't talk about Arsenal enough in this video today. So let me know what you were impressed with. How far do you really think that you can go this season? And Liverpool fans, let me know in the comments how you're feeling. Try and cheer me up, because this is just getting worse this season. I want it to end already. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments down below. Subscribe, cheer me up, give us a like. It'd be lovely to see that. And thank you so much for watching. So we'll see you very soon.